Have you ever been there? You know, your phone screen cracks, or maybe your car starts flashing some weird lights on the dash, and you take it to your usual local repair shop, the place you trust, and they can't fix it. Yeah, they tell you they don't have the right tools or the parts or even the software needed. It happens all the time. Then you're stuck, right? Your only option is going back to the manufacturer, probably facing a huge bill and a long wait. It's just super frustrating. It really is. And it makes you wonder, okay, I bought this thing. Don't I automatically have the right to get it repaired or have someone I choose repair it? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. There's a whole battle going on over this exact question. So today we're diving deep into the right to repair. It's a movement that's honestly way more complex and more important than most people realize.
That's absolutely right. And for this episode, we've pulled together, a real mix of sources. We've got industry analysis, some heavy-hitting legal viewpoints, and the arguments from advocacy groups on all sides. Our mission here is really to cut through all the noise, pull out the key nuggets of information so you can understand what this debate is all about, because it impacts, well, pretty much everything. Your phone, your car, even the tractors that grow our food.
Yeah, well, let's get into it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to ShopTalk, the podcast where auto repair pros get real insights to grow smarter, run smoother, and boost profits.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. For anyone who hasn't really followed this, what exactly is the right to repair? Let's unpack that.
Okay, so at its core, right to repair refers to laws, some proposed, some already passed, that basically aim to give you, the consumer, and also independent repair shops, the legal right to get hold of everything needed to fix modern products. We're talking tools, parts, the software, the technical manuals, all that stuff. And it stretches across a lot of industries. Electronics, obviously, agriculture is a big one we'll touch on. But maybe the most visible fight has been in the automotive sector.
Right. Cars seem to be where this really kicked off in a big way. And this isn't exactly a new fight, is it? I mean, this has roots going back a bit.
Yeah, it's got history. But a key moment, a real landmark in the modern sense, was back in 2012. Massachusetts passed a state law. It required car manufacturers to share their repair information with independent garages. And that Massachusetts law, it kind of became the model, the blueprint for a national agreement, an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding between the car company and the independent repair groups.
So that was a big step.
Huge. Then jump ahead to 2020. Massachusetts updated its law, this time to include all the wireless data that modern cars transmit, and that really poured fuel on the fire, reigniting the whole national debate for today's tech. Now, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surprising. The connection to intellectual property, or IP.
Ah, okay. How did IP fit in?
Well, think about it. Almost everything today has software embedded in it, right? Your phone, your smart fridge, medical devices, farm equipment.
Even my toaster, probably.
Probably. And that software? Plus, often the hardware design is all protected by intellectual property rights. Copyrights, patents, trade secrets. So, manufacturers use these IP rights to control who gets to do the repairs. In the US, a big piece of this is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA. Right, I've heard of that, yeah. It makes it illegal to get around the technological measures, like encryption or software locks that protect copyrighted work. Manufacturers often argue, look, only our authorized technicians should touch this. They say it's to prevent IP infringement or maybe liability if something goes wrong. And you see similar laws, DMCA-style laws, in lots of other countries as well.
Okay, so let's boil this down. You mentioned the DMCA, these software locks. What does that actually mean for me if I just want my local mechanic to fix my car or a shop to replace my phone screen? Are they literally locked out?
In many cases, yes. Think of the DMCA and similar IP protections as like a digital gatekeeper. Manufacturers put software locks on critical functions. If an independent shop tries to bypass that lock, even just to diagnose a problem or install a non-manufacturer part, the company can argue they're violating copyright law. Wow, it's a huge barrier. They often can't get the diagnostic codes, the special tools, the software updates, things absolutely essential for a proper, safe repair on a modern vehicle or complex electronic device. So, without strong right-to-repair laws, these independent shops face massive roadblocks. Manufacturers can and often do restrict access to all that critical data.
Like what specifically?
Oh, diagnostic trouble codes are things that tell you what's wrong. Repair procedures for the manufacturer, the OEM service tools themselves, calibration data for sensors, software updates, anything related to security systems like keys or immobilizers.
So the shops are kind of flying blind sometimes.
Exactly. The direct result is shops might just have to say, sorry, can't help you, gotta go to the dealer. Or they try to work around it. Maybe buy expensive dealer-only tools if they even can, which adds time and a lot of cost. Yep. And technicians might end up guessing, which leads to frustration for them and, erodes trust. You just want your thing fixed, affordably
Yeah.
and correctly.
Okay, so that covers the shop's perspective. Huge challenges there, but let's bring it back to the person listening. Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the consumer, right? What does this actually mean when your stuff breaks?
Yeah, for consumers, the consequences are pretty much all negative, unfortunately. First off, you're almost certainly looking at skyrocketing repair costs.
Because there's no competition.
Precisely. When you're basically forced into the manufacturer's authorized repair network, it creates a kind of monopoly, or at least a very limited market. And that means they can charge considerably more than an independent shop likely would. So, higher costs, and tied to that is just limited choice. You're locked in. Competition gets squeezed out.
Okay, cost and choice. What else?
Well, there's a massive environmental side to this too. If things are hard or super expensive to repair, what happens?
just buy a new one. Throw the old one out.
Exactly. It leads directly to things being scrapped way too early. Think about electronic waste, e-waste. It's a huge problem. We found studies showing something like, get this, 350,000 smartphones are thrown away every single day.
Wait, 350,000 a day. Just phones?
Yep, just phones. Imagine adding laptops, TVs, appliances. The scale is staggering. It's a mountain of waste created partly because repair is made difficult or uneconomical.
That's actually shocking. 350,000. Wow. And you have to wonder, is there a financial reason why manufacturers might not be rushing to make repairs easier?
Well, consider this. A significant chunk of manufacturers' profits comes from post-sale services. That includes their authorized repairs and selling you new devices when the old ones aren't easily fixable. Some estimates put this whole post-sale market at around 3% of the entire U.S. economy.
3%. That's enormous.
It's huge. So, yeah, there's definitely a strong financial incentive for them to maintain control over the repair process. Makes it less appealing to just open the doors for anyone to fix their products.
So clearly this isn't a simple issue. It's not just a good guys versus bad guys thing. There are real arguments on both sides, aren't there?
Definitely not simple. It's a really complex debate with valid points, or at least understandable concerns being raised by everyone involved. Supporters of right to repair, they argue pretty forcefully that denying access leads straight to monopolies, higher consumer costs, and it just flies in the face of sustainability. They also make a strong legal case.
Okay, what's the legal argument for repair?
They argue that the right to repair is actually, not infringing on IP. It's based on centuries of common law property rights, basically. You bought it, you own it, you should be able to fix it. And they point to principles in U.S. IP law itself, like the exhaustion principle.
Okay, you lost me a bit there. Exhaustion principle. Can you break that down? Like, how does that apply to me fixing my phone?
Sure. Think of it like buying a physical book. Once the publisher sells that book to you, their copyright control over that specific copy is exhausted. They can't tell you that you can't resell it or lend it or, tape a ripped page back together.
Ah, got it. So once they sell the phone, their IP rights over that particular phone are used up, in a sense.
That's the argument. The first sale exhausts their right to control that specific item's resale or repair. Supporters also point to things like transformative use under fair use doctrine. The U.S. Copyright Office itself has even weighed in, generally viewing repair as non-infringing and modifying software for new uses on your own device as potentially transformative.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's the pro-repair argument. What about the manufacturers? What are their main objections?
So, manufacturers push back with several concerns. They talk about cybersecurity risks, worrying that if anyone can access the software or use non-standard parts, it could create vulnerabilities, maybe lead to data breaches, especially with connected devices.
Okay, security is a fair point.
They also raise vehicle safety issues. If an independent shop does an improper repair, especially on critical systems like brakes or airbags, who's liable? They worry about the safety hazard and the potential lawsuits.
Liability, right.
And of course, there's a core IP protection argument. They want to protect their proprietary tech, their software, their designs from being copied, counterfeited, or reverse engineered. So they advocate for using only their certified technicians, framing it as being in the best interest of consumer safety and product integrity.
So safety, security, protecting their investment.
Those are the main pillars of their opposition.
Yeah.
But it's important to add, right to repair advocates strongly push back on these points. They argue that you can create laws with safeguards. You can write rules that ensure manufacturers aren't held liable for a bad repair done by someone else. You can protect consumers from bad repairs. You can find ways to share necessary information without giving away core trade secrets. The basic idea is that access and safety aren't mutually exclusive. You can achieve both.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about phones and cars. But you mentioned agriculture earlier, the tractor example. This fight really does go beyond our personal gadgets, doesn't it? Where else is this a big deal?
Oh, absolutely. Agriculture is a huge battleground. That John Deere class action lawsuit is probably the most famous example. Farmers own this incredibly expensive high-tech machinery, right?
Yeah, millions of dollars sometimes.
Exactly. And it's full of proprietary software. If something breaks down, especially during critical planting or harvest time, they might be completely stuck, unable to make repairs themselves or use a local mechanic because the software locks them out. They might have to wait days for an authorized Deere technician, losing valuable time and money.
Wow, that's not just inconvenient, that's potentially devastating for their business.
It really is. And even though John Deere did sign an agreement, an MOU with the American Farm Bureau Federation promising more access, well, that lawsuit is still moving through the courts. It shows how deep this issue runs and how complex finding solutions can be.
It really sounds like lawmakers are starting to get the message, though. You mentioned Massachusetts, but is this gaining steam elsewhere?
Definitely. The momentum is building. We've seen right-to-repair bills proposed in over 40 U.S. states now. Many of them are specifically trying to carve out exceptions to laws like the DMCA to allow repair.
40 states, that's significant.
It is. And at the federal level, President Biden issued an executive order back in July 2021. It encouraged the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to make rules prohibiting manufacturers from blocking independent repair. Though honestly, that order wasn't specific enough to force immediate widespread change. It's more of a signal. But then came a really big breakthrough. New York passed its Digital Fair Repair Act, signed into law in December 2022, took effect July 1, 2023.
Oh, hey, New York, what makes that one so important?
It's considered the first really comprehensive state law for electronics repair. It basically requires manufacturers of most digital electronic equipment sold in the state to make diagnostic info, tools, and parts available to both consumers and independent shops on fair and reasonable terms.
So, leveling the playing field somewhat.
That's the goal. And importantly, it also tries to address the manufacturer's concerns. It includes provisions saying they don't have to reveal trade secrets, and they aren't liable if the owner or an independent shop damages the device during a repair.
Interesting. So, a potential model for other states?
Could be. It's definitely being watched very closely.
Okay, so New York's law is on the books for electronics. But just when you think things are settling, it sounds like there's been another major shift, especially back in the automotive world, something very recent.
Yes, brand new development, really. Just this past February, 2025, something quite remarkable happened. You had independent repair groups, big ones like the Automotive Service Association, the collision repair specialists, getting together with the automakers themselves represented by their main lobbying group, the Alliance for Automotive Innovation.
Wait, the repair shops and the car companies? On the same side?
On the same proposed legislation, yes, they jointly presented a unified bill to Congress. It's called the Safety is First Emphasis Repair Act, or the Safe Repair Act for short.
Safe Repair Act. Okay, what does that one propose?
It's a pretty big deal. It essentially guarantees that independent shops will continue to have the same level of access to diagnostic and repair information and tools as the franchise dealerships.
The same access.
The focus, as the name suggests, is heavily on safety and consumer confidence, making sure repairs are done correctly, safely by trained technicians using the right info from the manufacturers.
So what are the key parts of it?
It covers several key areas. It affirms access to vehicle data. It aims to empower consumer choice where you get your car fixed. It strongly prioritizes vehicle safety, specifically mentioning the need to ensure repairs restore safety systems like airbags and collision avoidance tech. That's a big one.
Ensuring safety systems are restored. That sounds critical.
It is. It also addresses parts, allowing choices between manufacturer OEM parts and aftermarket parts, saying both should have the same safety protections. It pushes for more transparency about a used car's history, and it promotes vehicle inspection programs.
You said the safety part is key. Was that missing from earlier proposals?
Yes, that's a crucial difference. There was a previous bill pushed by repair groups called the Repair Act, but critics, including the automakers, pointed out it didn't specifically address the need to restore complex vehicle safety systems after a repair. The SAFE Act puts that front and center.
Got it. And are independent shops already doing a lot of this work?
Absolutely. The automaker's own group, the Alliance, acknowledges that right now something like 70% of all car repairs done after the warranty expires are already handled by independent shops.
70%? Wow.
Yeah, so this SAFE Act is partly about acknowledging that reality and creating a clear, safe, and fair framework for it moving forward. But, it's still a proposal. So right now, independent shops are kind of in limbo, waiting to see how these legal and legislative battles shake out.
Okay, so it's a dynamic situation, lots still happening. Knowing all of this, what can independent shops and just as importantly, you listening actually do right now? What are the practical steps?
All right, let's talk action. For the independent shops out there, the key is really being proactive. First, stay informed. Keep a close eye on what's happening with legislation in your state and nationally. Things change fast.
Okay.
Second, modernize. You have to invest in the training and the tools needed for today's cars and electronics. They're complex, software heavy. You need the skills and equipment.
Makes sense.
Third, embrace digital tools for your own shop. Good shop management software helps you track repairs, keep service histories, build trust with customers through transparency. Show them what you're doing. And finally, educate your customers. Talk to them. Explain how right to repair affects their choices, why supporting local independent repair matters for them and the community.
Good advice for the shops. Now, what about for the rest of us, the consumers? How can you make a difference here?
Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. First, just like the shops, stay informed, know what the debate is about, follow the developments. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
Second, use your voice. Contact your local state legislators, your representatives in Congress. Let them know you support the right to repair, that you value consumer choice.
Yeah, that really can make a difference.
And third, just talk about it. Advocate for choice among your friends, your family. Explain why it matters. When enough people understand the issue and speak up, policymakers tend to listen.
It's true, and I think this whole episode really underlines something important. Right to repair, it isn't just about getting access to a manual or a diagnostic tool. It's much bigger. It's fundamentally about ensuring that independent repair businesses can actually survive and compete long-term. It's about fostering real competition in the market, and ultimately, it's about promoting your freedom as a consumer and promoting sustainability in a world that's just getting more and more technologically complicated.
That's a great way to put it. It really brings us to a final thought, something for all of us to chew on. As our products, our cars, our phones, our homes become increasingly like complex computers on wheels or in our pockets, what does the future of ownership truly look like for you? What does it mean to own something if you can't fully control or repair it?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Shop Talk by ShopOfficer. If you found this helpful, share it with a fellow mechanic or shop owner and follow for more real-world advice. Want to take your shop digital? Visit shopofficer.com to get started for free. Until next time, keep wrenching smarter.
1, 2,